Hi there! This is going to be a video about how I make yarn from scratch. David Russell was really interested in this boring kind of process, which is why I'm making this video. Yarn is made out of wool, and wool comes from sheep. I live in Chicago and I don't have any sheep, so I get all of my wool directly from a yarn store. The wool you get from a yarn store is called a roving. It's been washed and dyed, so it's not directly off the sheep. It doesn't like have mud in it or anything. It's nice and pretty. Once I get the roving, I arrange a color palette. In this case, it's going to be blues and greens. Raw roving can't be used directly to make yarn. It has to first be carded, which just means that all of the fibers in it are turned in the same direction. In addition to the regular wool that goes into a bat, a bat is the processed wool that can then be spun into yarn. I also like to put in some little accents. In this case, I'll be using silk hankies as an accent, as well as some unprocessed locks of wool. So they're dyed, but they still maintain the shape of the wool that was shaved directly off the sheep. Before I start spinning, I like to pre-draft my bats, which just means like ripping them apart into long, skinny pieces to make it easier to spin. A lot of people kind of consider that cheating, but I figure since I've only been spinning for about a year, I'm allowed to cheat. So there's this little piece of yarn that's already attached to the spool that's on my wheel, so that I don't have to try to make yarn by hand before threading it through to get it started. I just have to pull the already made yarn through the orifice, which is the hole that the yarn goes through before it wraps around the spool. So the spool spins around, putting the twist into the fibers, and as the twist goes down the string of fibers, you release the tension and it goes back up through the orifice and wraps around the spool. Once I've spun all the bat into yarn, I then wind the yarn off of the spool into what's called a skein. What you have to do with that before you can actually use it is set the twist. I filled up the sink with water as hot as I could stand, and I dunked it in there, left it for like 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, or whenever I happened to remember to take it out of the sink, I squeezed it out real carefully, trying not to wring it. Then I rolled it in a towel and I pressed as much water out of it as I could. After that, it hangs up until it's dry. Once the skein is completely dry, I took it off of the hanger and put it onto my friend's hands.
Dun da da dun dun da da dun dun. It'll be good background music.
And wrapped it into a ball. From the ball, I am crocheting pieces to put into this blanket that I'm going to give my mom. It was sort of going to be a Christmas present, but I didn't start it until like October, so maybe next year. That's how I make yarn, and I hope this video wasn't too boring or too long, which it probably is.